This podcast episode is to help you once you've gone through a vision exercise where you've determined, hey, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to have and accomplish. When you've answered those questions and you've really dug deep and you've looked at the new values, the value system that you've come from, and the value system that you're stepping into. And by the way, if you haven't done those, there are links in the notes. But really, we want to put things in their proper place because vision, when you go and you start to clarify that, it really serves, well, some people it doesn't serve at all. Vision, before it becomes clear, becomes confusing because it's almost like imagine you had this jar full of rocks and dirt and sediment and there was water in there and things had settled the way they were. That would be like your old life, your old way. And then if you were to pick up that jar and shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, allowing things to be rearranged, well, that's your new life. And so this is to help you to begin to assimilate all of the stuff that's flying around because anytime we ever want to create a remix in our lives, we almost have to shake things up, right? Shake up the jar. And when you see all these particles flying around, well, we can rearrange those. And so you're at a place and at a time where you must rearrange your material. Your material, right? It's the matter you're working with, and the matter is what actually creates the logical flow for the reality you're creating. So we are going to be talking about the structure that goes along with what it is that you are creating in your vision. And if you don't do this, if you don't create a structure, what's going to happen is you're going to find your way back to default. Default. It's interesting whether we see it or not. We are typically being controlled, psychologists think, of 95% of our actions are being controlled by subconscious thought, which means that your programs are running you. So right now we are installing a new program. Side thought, just a fun little piece of trivia. The actual term daemon is the term. The term means program. It also means mask, or essentially, it's right. The term daemon has to do with like a program that runs you. It is where people, I don't know how long ago, got the term demon, and so you might be daemon possessed. I'm just kidding. You're not. You are not. But we do want to find and uproot any of the old programming so that we can create the new. We're going to be looking at a few key areas so that you can take, hey, those seeds that we went through on the last, in that last, in the last meditation, we'll call it. The seeds that you went through that are connected to the vision, those seeds produce a fruit. And the fruit that those seeds produce is feelings. And all of the things that you want to accomplish are feelings. And if we can create a track to run down, we can create a way of consistently experiencing the feelings that so many people separate themselves from. So that is the goal. This one is going to be a little bit quicker than the last one. But I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. I want you to consider old structures, and you're going to be deciding whether or not it stays or whether it goes. So each of these structures is almost like a piece of furniture in your house. And if you can imagine, the house that you are building is the house that you are connecting with all of those top feelings you've decided you want to experience. So what are those? I want you to go grab those real quick. Okay, go look at them, go think about them just for a second. What are those feelings? That next version of you, the 2.0 version of you, what are the feelings that this guy gets to experience? Okay. And now once we're in that feeling, that's how we tune the guitar, so to speak. That's how we tighten the strings. We're tuning it to the key of those feelings. Okay. And if you used to choose different feelings, that's okay. Guitars can be tuned to different keys. And so we can change. But right now we're tuning it to the key of the feelings that you are seeking. So that ultimate version of health and of freedom and of giving and of energy transfer and of rest and of energy and exploration and flow. Those are the things. Okay. So that's the structure. Now everything that we're that's your master structure. All of the things that we're going to talk about now, they either fit or they don't. Okay? They either fit or they don't. They either contribute or they're neutral or they actually take away from. And so if it contributes, it stays. We're going to keep it. We're going to build it into what it is that we have to do. And if it's something that gets in the way, man, we remove it, we uproot it with extreme prejudice. So just like the weeds we had in the last episode, this one we're looking at how we can like those things that we put around it. Now things do matter, by the way, because whatever things you have give you convenience, and whatever convenience you have determines your probability. So we're going from possible to probable in this one. We're finally taking all of these almost these airy, dreamy thoughts, and we're giving them structure. We're bringing them into the known world. Okay, so we're gonna stay in the realm of a few different things. And so again, the whole thing is that you're able to surround yourself with the things that create the vision that you want. So what is the furniture we want here? What are the things that we want to surround ourselves with? What are the things that connect with? Here we go. Ready? Number one, your personality. Not your persona, your personality. Your persona was someone you had to be in the past to create results or get the thing you wanted. But we're removing that. We're taking off that mask. And so what tempts you back into the old persona versus what allows you to connect with that new personality, that new thing that you are by design? What is that? All right. So that's the goal, right? This whole thing is it's about you becoming the person that that does those things, that has those things. And so if you don't ever become that person, it's a big key. Okay. So so there you go. Personality. Next, your power. You have used certain powers before, for sure. You've gotten good at certain things before. You have become useful. That's what happens when you are successful. You have to become useful. But now we're looking at our power a little bit differently. We're looking at our assets in a way that says, how can I assemble these things towards this end? How can I take these things and point them in the direction to where they multiply my deepest desire? And we have to draw that line in the sand and understand that what you're becoming is different than what you've been. Maybe in some ways we almost have to mourn the idea that we can no longer carry the football for the game-winning touchdown because now it's time for you to become the game-winning coach. There might be things that you need to mourn so that you can embrace the next thing because it doesn't belong anymore. Okay? Your powers, your gifts, your talents. We're going to use new ones in this next chapter. Permission. There may have been things that you gave yourself permission to do so that you could get done the things you needed to get done, and it's not appropriate now. There are certain things that combat veterans can do when they're on the battlefield that they cannot do when they return to civilian life. What what are those things for you? And so maybe you had an old permission. Maybe it's time to do away with that. Maybe it's time for a new agreement. So what are the new agreements? What belongs now in this new house, this new place you're creating? What are the permissions you have to give to yourself? What are the permissions you have to remove from other people? You may have once upon a time allowed for people to have complete access to certain parts of you, and that no longer serves your interest. What's your interest? Well, your interest is it's a place we're going. So we have to adjust the permissions for others. You might have to have new agreements. Hey, we used to do it this way. Now we're doing it that way. These things change by nature of life, and they definitely change when you are looking into the next chapter of life. People, if you are changing chapters, you're typically going to be adjusting the value of people. Now, all people have intrinsic value. We're all valuable, but some are here for you during this season that weren't here for you last season. There are some that you are supposed to serve right here, right now. And if you don't embrace that, you're going to end up trying to be everything to everyone, which means you will be nothing to no one. I don't know if that's proper English, but I just want you to think about what people now belong and where do they belong. Maybe someone who was a friend needs to be a mentor. Maybe someone who was a mentor needs to become a friend. Do you have grown children? There's an interesting transition we all go through, hopefully, if you do it right, where your children become your peers in some way. Respected, right? We transition into something new. So think about the people who belong in this next part of your life and where they belong, maybe how they belong, maybe how you relate to people as well changes. The way you treated them, the way you treated yourself. What does that look like? My friend, you have to examine this. If you don't, you will continue to repeat the same pattern as you've always done. And your past daemons will control you. You're new. You're new. You're a new creation with new possibilities. What about your problem? You are not getting away from problems. You're stepping into a new one. What is it? What is it? If you don't identify it, you'll still solve the old ones. You're not meant to be vacant of problems. My friend, you're here to solve problems. You're here to solve puzzles. But if you don't choose the next ones you solve, you're just going to keep solving the old ones, and you're going to get frustrated, and it's going to lose its flavor. So what are some things you'd like to explore? There are new puzzles that belong in your life that we've got to make room for them. We've got to make room for them. We've got to make room for them. You must be useful to someone. And part of this, by the way, I'm just going to dig into it. It might be curiosities as well. I think your curiosity is something that's an indicator of a problem that you are meant to follow. So what are the curiosities you have now? I'm not saying that these dominate your entire schedule, but they're good indicators. It's okay to chase a white rabbit every once in a while. All right. Your pace and your process. Your pace and your process right now need to adjust. They need to change. In some areas, you need to dial it up, become more focused, run faster, run harder, try harder. In some other areas, you need to do the opposite. The way that you pace yourself is informing you of what you believe. And if you're afraid, then you're probably going to be running fast and scared and bouncing all around. And if you are focused and connected and concentrated, You're probably going to be moving at a different pace. So think about those emotions we chose, those things that we want to feel, the end fruit of the seeds we're planting, and what pace and process match that for you in your work? What pace and process match that for you in the way you wake up, in the way that you play with your family, lead your family? And while we're here, I want you to think about the seasons. You may have availability of certain things now that you didn't have access to a year ago or 5 years ago. You might have in front of you, well, you do have in front of you things that are not going to be the same in 5 years as they are right now. And so, what are those optimum areas for this season right now? And how do you want to grab hold of those? How do you plan? Historically, how you've planned, and we can look at the things that have caused you and brought you success. Of course, yes, please. How you've planned in the past, bring that forward here. But also, there might be some new ways that you plan. What are some freedoms you'd like to connect with in that right now? And the way that you do it. Again, we're not obligated. There's no one telling you have to do this or you have to do that. This is all inside, and this is the greatest, coolest thing of all. This is how we dance with creation and become co-creators ourselves. It's how we ascend to the great places. So what are the things I want you to think about now, your day in and your day out? I call it your practice. The practice, like it looks like play, it feels like play. It's something you could do every single day. Every single day. And it also improves you. So it's gratifying. It improves you. It's practice. It's play. What is that sustainable way for you now? There are some things you need to put away from of old. What are those? What are the things that you need more of? You want more of. You really, really want it. Again, think in terms of this season of your life and the next one, setting yourself up. And finally, my friend, performance. Performance. I don't like that term in general, but actually, if you look at the root word of it, the actual word just means to bring to completion. So we're not acting here for a performance. We're bringing things to completion. You have to look at the things that you have already brought to completion so that you don't stay in that place. Bury the old things. Grab hold of the new. And realize that everything you hold lightly, because what you have in your hand, it isn't going to be here for forever either. So what are the things that you must bring to completion? You are a steward. So what must you steward? What must you bring to completion? You are not neglectful, but you are responsible. You complete things. What are the things that you must complete right now? Even looking through all of these things, these are what I call the 10 Ps in the School of Professional Design. But if you look at these things all support and start to give structure and visibility towards the things that we're doing. And what can happen now is we can begin to plan, develop habits, and execute. And while we're doing it, what we're doing every single time we do it adds not just to the fruit that we want, but also the faith and the effort that we give. How cool is that? So grab hold of it. If you need to play this one again and again, do it, my friend. There's power here. There's power. This is where dreams become substance. Don't miss this one.